Not derisive, but decisive. Flipboard. Man, my phone keeps doing all kinds of stuff. Okay, this is the game Liren versus Rameshbabu Praggnanandhaa. And this did not go the way people expected. The opening did. So somebody do a thing. All right, thanks for making a marker, Stonkfish. Okay, so they played a symmetrical king pawn. Played an Italian. And I'm sure both players were blitzing this out. Doesn't seem very exciting. Black plays a5 to stop white from playing b4 and gaining space on the queen side. So it looks pretty equal, and I think it's pretty equal. I think the way I think about chess is if you're an old man like Liren and you're young like Praggnanandhaa, the older player wants boring, positional, strategical, without any tactics. And the younger player wants to play 25 moves of prep and play novelties and sack all their pieces, so forth. So from that standpoint, I think Ding was pretty happy here. It's maybe equal, maybe white is this much better, this much, and it's going to be a maneuvering game, and Liren expects to outplay his younger, lower-rated opponent. Okay, makes sense. Okay, queen d7, queen b3, b6, rook d1, king h8, getting off of this diagonal, queen b5, knight d8. They trade queens, looking more drawish. And then white gets in d4 before black plays d5. So it seems like white has quite a pleasant position. White's going to attack this pawn with knight c4. And black really doesn't want to take and give white this nice center. Although black is pretty solid, he's still passive. So it seems like, white's slightly better here with no risk. Knight f7, defending his pawn. King f2 is a very strange move, and it's not a move I would consider. I would call it a bad move. The engine just wants to play the normal knight at knight c4. Okay, knight g5, taking advantage of the pin. King e2. Knight takes. Took with the knight. G takes is also to be considered. The engine actually slightly prefers G takes to knight takes. I would play G takes to confuse my opponent. Probably Ding didn't like this isolated pawn here. Knight f6, attacking the pawn on e4. Knight d2. King g8. The king wasn't good on h8. Rook f1. And this looks really boring. And what's funny is this maneuver with his king, getting his king close to the center, and in a knight endgame, we'd probably just walk in here and win. That would be the goal. Unfortunately, there's a lot of pieces on the board, so black has no trouble here, and g4 is a mistake, I think. And he just underestimated d5. And the engine says that this is still equal, but I think it's clear you want to be black in here because this seems very, weird. It's like that's not where the pieces go. Rooks aren't connected. This pawn's attacked. If you take on e5, because triple pawns are 3 times as good, I'm guessing when Ding played these moves like g4, he thought d5 would be bad because of this. and he probably missed knight d7. That's my guess. Because knight takes pawn or pawn takes pawn is sort of obvious, but knight d7 and knight takes pawn on e5, black is just better. Black's can have a better pawn structure. Still within the draw zone. And he played rook back to f1, showing something is wrong. Thanks, Dr. Krieger. 364. ED, CD, takes, g5, so you can win the pawn back, and e5. And obviously black's playing for a win here because white's king, that's not a good king. Reminds me of Magnus's king, but not as bad. Close. And I think if two engines are playing, the game ends in a draw. I think. But with two humans playing, it's very hard to play white. It's not easy in this position. So he played rook f5, which is the engine move. Knight b4. Now the engine doesn't like knight b4. It wants to take on d4. And the reason is, after rook takes, it wants to play c6. And this is just a very weak pawn. So we can double up on the bubble up, and we have tremendous pressure, on white's position. But, okay, he played knight b4, which is also good. DE. The engine actually prefers d5, which I don't see anybody playing. I would never play d5 or consider it. Just gives a pawn away. Knight d3. All white's pawns are hanging. Take this, take this, take this. These pawns are... Every pawn's weak. Black's pawn structure is frankly great. King c2. Knight takes e5. Terrible position for white. And, black's moving his king up the board. And all these pawns are weak. All 5 of them. And the white king is trapped. And black has no weak pawns. And his pawns can't be attacked. This pawn's already defended. So just a really bad position for white. Again, if an engine was white, it might be able to draw by defending everything perfectly. In the human world, white doesn't draw this game. Knight c4 is a mistake. King g6. King h5. Very, very nice play. See, the idea of knight c4, from white's point of view, was to play rook here, and we're blocking the rook, so we can start taking all the pawns. And he ended up playing knight e5. If he plays rook to d7 instead, we play knight a6, defending the pawn, and we're threatening knight c5 check, which wins the rook, and it wins the knight on c4, and if you play king here, it hangs mate in 1. So knight c5, now that's a threat. And this is simply winning for black. So he played knight e5, rook e1. How do we defend this pawn? Good question. Rook e4, rook h1. And this is excellent play. Let me show you why. If you play rook h1 here, now I can play rook here. And the engine says it's equal. So by playing rook e1 first, you don't have time for here because your knight's hanging. And when you play rook e4, now your rook can't go to d7. So now rook h4, rook h1, and all these pawns are hanging. So he played knight to d7. Black wins a pawn. Rook e7 getting counterplay. And black has an extra past h pawn with basically no compensation. Probably black is better and has the extra pawn. Always repeat. Put it in h. Move it on up to the king's side. And all the knight endings are completely winning. So if we ever trade rooks, this is going to cost you a piece. In fact, I might be able to queen it without you sacking your knight for it. It's also possible. Rook h7 is the best. King c4 is the best. It's the only legal move. Rook d5 defends the h-pawn. Defending his b-pawn. Put it in h. Rook g7 is a mistake. Losing anyway. Knight h3 is a mistake. Always repeat. King e3. Now he makes another mistake. He should play king b5. Plays knight h3 again. Forcing the white king to nowhere. And okay, this is good. These are all hanging. This king is not participating in the game anymore. And I think in this position, white resigned, but they put the king here because they put the kings on the black squares. But here, white's going to lose all of his pawns. King can just take them all. My rook can take them all. So, I mean, amazing game from Praggnanandhaa because Ding made some imperceptible mistakes, and he allowed Pragg to play d5, which was very strong. And then when he had a slight advantage, he pressed it, he moved his king up the board, and he slowly but surely won, which is not what you would expect from a young player against the number 2 player in the world. And Jan Nepomniachtchi was sitting at home going, good, good. Take away some of Ding's confidence, losing with white to Pragg. Now, on Twitter, Gotham Chess posited, is this the first time, is this the youngest player to win a slow game against a 2800? And you have to remember, 2800s didn't go on trees 30, 40, 50 years ago, and kids weren't good then anyway. So there's only been like maybe 10 2800s ever, and they're usually not losing to 15, 16, 17-year-olds. Not usually. I don't know the answer to that. I also don't know how old Praggnanandhaa is. The answer, I think, is fries. Yeah, you can lose to anybody. Ding loses with white. See, you guys, also me, but I'm doing this. I'm not sitting. I'm here. You guys are like, the highest rated player is Carlsen. The second highest rated player is Ding, and they both lost today. The truth hurts. That's what happens in chess. You're number 1 in the world, number 2 in the world, and you lose. On the same day, at the same time. God damn. Yeah, I always thought, I haven't changed my mind yet. I always thought Saren was the better talent out of Saren and Praggnanandhaa. And they're both big talents. So I don't know the answer. I think Saren's older, but it could be he's younger. What do I know? I mean, that was an excellent game from Praggnanandhaa. And the way he slowly but surely, and I've seen him do this before in endgames. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Never let the win go. Torture. And he's good at that. Everybody's from Chennai. Not only that, they're from Tamil Nadu. Where the heck is Fallujah? What do you think of Nihal? Nihal's good.